5 o'clock. Agenda review and disposition, any changes to the agenda? No changes. Okay, great. Privilege of the floor. No, we just have someone coming from class. Great. And approval of the minutes. Does someone want to make a nomination to group out the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept and approve the minutes of April 5th and both public and non-public.
Thank you, Barbara. Seconded by? Second. Christie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Great.
I have one question.
Yes.
On the non-public minutes, I think that's where it is. Where did I see it? It lists all of us by individual name, and it says roll call vote. And for the first 5 of us, I think it says yes and no. That must be a mistake. 10 of us all said yes. You see what I'm talking about?
Who typed these minutes up?
Michelle had to.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
probably,
No, we can fix that.
yeah, the whole end column should be stricken. That's it.
Great. Student report.
All right, this is going to be a long one tonight. There's been a lot going on in the school, so. All right, so first going to move up day, which was on April 5th, the last time we all met. It went really well. There's a lot of incoming freshmen who showed a lot of interest in multiple activities. I'm really excited to see their participation next year. We had about 35 tables with extracurricular activities in the gym, made by adults, teachers, coaches, and other students. It was really well received by the incoming freshmen and definitely a venue we will continue in the future. Next was the Spring Fling Dance, which was hosted on April 15th. There was not too many kids that went, but I will say we had a lot of fun with the amount that was there. It was a very interactive dance, and everybody was well behaved. And there was a special person on the microphone. He helped gather some enthusiasm. I'm not going to say his name, but he might be in front of you.
That's not me. That would be Parsons Jr.
And then next is the junior testing that we had on April 20th. That's like not an e-wall.
It's the New Hampshire State.
New Hampshire State Science Testing. From my perspective, it went well. As a student, I haven't seen the scores or anything, but from my perspective, it went well. Then next we had the Spring Carnival, which was hosted on April 22nd. It was a lot of fun. We had lots of school spirit and participation. We had fun events, especially the Pie for Prom, which was hosted by the senior class. I actually got to tie my father, the head football coach here, so that was a lot of fun. I'm not going to comment on the amount of time we had, but I'm strongly advocating for a full day next year. And Mr. Parsons is going to help us get it.
He will, absolutely.
In all of our spring sports, participation is awesome. We have full varsity and JV teams. Some schools struggle to fill the JV teams and freshman teams, so we do struggle to find teams to play JV and freshmen. That's one of the problems with spring sports. Next, we had a quiz bowl event or vacation. This is a little write-up that Mr. Harris did. We just got back from the Quiz Bowl Small School National Championships in Rosemont, Illinois on April 21st. 4 students left for Illinois. On Friday, they got the chance to visit a bit of Chicago and went to the Art Institute of Chicago to view a lot of the work that they study for Quiz Bowl. They later scrimmage matches against Greens Farms, CT, and Westmount, Louisiana. We won both of those matches. On Saturday, they competed against small school teams from across the nation. We needed to win 6 of our 10 matches in order to make the playoffs on Sunday. They did that. They went 6-4 in the day and made the playoffs. On Sunday, they played Macomb, Illinois in round 1 of the playoffs, and Orchard Farm, Missouri in round 2. They went on and eliminated, and they were eliminated from the playoffs after round 2. They went 6-6 for the event, placing 25th out of 55 teams. The team qualified for and competed in this event every year, and it has been held since 2016. And they made the Final Four back in 2019. So that's the Quiz Bowl write-up. And then currently the team has one more event in Waterville, Maine on May 21st. And then next, we have coming up this month, 5 students qualified by winning the State Design Award, the TSA. So they get to compete at the World Vex Robotics Championships, and they leave tomorrow and come back Sunday, so best of luck to them.
In Dallas, Texas. So.
Yeah, Dallas, Texas. And then on May 14th, we have the junior senior prom. It's in the Graffoni Center at the Courtyard Marriott in Concord. I'm super excited for this event. It should be a lot of fun. Next, there's a mandatory meeting on the 12th for the prom speaker. And then on the 16th, quarter 4 progress reports will close. On the 17th, the LNA, which is a health science program, their ceremony will be held. And their state test is this Friday, so good luck to them on passing. And that is in Bobcat Cafe after you guys' subcommittee meeting, so you guys can always stop by that after. And then the Bobcat Classic Golf Tournament is May 22nd. That's at Owl's Nest, and it's a 9 a.m. start. There's still time to put your team in if anybody here wants to play. And you can contact the principal's office. And this is to raise money for our Boosters Club at Fling High School. On May 19th, the PRHS Concert Band Choir and Jazz Ensemble will be traveling to Hershey and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to compete in the Music in the Parks competition. They will also spend time touring the Gettysburg Battlefield Visitor Center, Underground Railroad sites, and Hershey Chocolate Factory. There are 82 students attending with 8 chaperones. They are extremely excited to share their experience, and they come back the 22nd. And then the following that, the 24th, is their spring concert. May 25th, we have the yearbook assembly. It's the last time the seniors come in the gym, and they receive their yearbook, and the whole school will attend. AP tests are this month, advanced placement courses, which are college classes, so those are all this month. And then at the end of this month, senior final exams will start the 27th of May. And then a quick schedule change on our school calendar says May 25th is the underclass awards, but Mr. Parsons moved it to June 7th at 6 in the auditorium. Now for student council news, we have class elections this month, May 9th to 16th is for campaigning, and the actual election day is the 17th. At the moment, the freshmen and all student council is working on school climate with Ms. Torito. Earlier in the year, the sophomores ran Move Up Night and are looking to make it even better next year. Also, earlier this year, they raised money for Voices Against Violence through Hats Against Hate. And then juniors did a trash pickup the week before vacation. They have a recycling program here and are looking to add about 4 bins that they're going to buy out of the junior class funds. And Miss Delfonse's class empties the bins during their time, so that's always good. And then the Student Senate attended the YMCA Youth in Government program in Concord. PRHS delegates served in the House, Senate, and Executive Council. And then a standout from there is sophomore Janelle Como was recognized for Outstanding Legislative Award. Her bill was written to allow to have on student IDs, on the back of all student IDs in the state of New Hampshire. Like this was a bill that she wrote, would have crisis hotlines on it for students. Because a lot of students, we have help here in the school, but over the summer, a lot of kids don't know how to get help, so that was just a little something, and she won that legislative award, so that was awesome for her. Lastly is Teacher Appreciation Week. There's 2 lunches served this week, one by marketing, which is tomorrow, and one was provided by the school administration on Thursday. So thank you to all of you and teachers, obviously. So that's my student report. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Excellent. Nice job.
Thank you.
Principal's report.
Hey, you found your next principal. Just one thing there. Kate did a wonderful job. Thanks, Kate. There were about 175 kids that showed up at the dance, which is not a bad number. I was extremely happy. And yes, next year we're going to work really hard about not only the winter carnival, but we're talking about a spring carnival too, and looking at both dates. He's covered pretty much everything, and the rest of mine is all financial and other stuff. Thank you. The handbook, I can do the handbook under my, okay, I thought it was under the years. You should have in your packet, very few changes, guys, on the handbook changes. I'm not gonna read to you. The high set, we run our high set here. In fact, our director is right over here, my administrative assistant. If you have any questions or concerns, Janice is very, very busy. The high set is open to anybody in this area, particular area, and she gets many, many calls regarding that. The class dues, you can see, class dues will continue at $10, but the student ID badges, there are some just grammatical changes down there, nothing major. The phones. Phones was interesting. I went through, I want to applaud Georgie Boyd, our English teacher. She deals mostly with the 9 honors and ninth grade English class. She had a project where her kids spent a serious amount of time researching and going through. As you well know, phones change daily, well beyond my capability as an old man. But with the new rules that we had, I worked with the kids on this, and you can see the new copies. The new copy in bold, and I'm asking for your approval. We do allow cell phones in the cafeteria and other student lunch areas, such as the vocational wing here and in the main corridors. They're allowed in the hallways between classes. They're allowed in study halls, in the learning commons with the following guidelines. Silent activities, texting, listening, earbuds will be allowed. No phone calls, sending or receiving. They're allowed off-site with teachers and coaches' permission, unless directed by the teacher for class purposes. They do use them in class. I see them sometimes in math, photography, they're taking pictures, but it's teacher directed. That is the major changes with those phones. It is new. I'm not going to tell you I'm a big fan. When the kids are moving in the hallway, you know, their faces are actually attached to that phone. I don't know who they're texting or whatever, but there are no phone calls going in and out. If they do, we'll take their phone and the disciplining policy will take place. Any questions with the cell phones? This was in conjunction with the kids I worked with on this too. And a lot of the kids, I will tell you, the report was huge. We're a lot stricter. So, yeah, lots stricter. They wanted teachers to take them in class, put them in bins, and so this is what we came up with. These next two, as written, but they will come out of your, one of your meetings on suspension, on student discipline, and obviously the child abuse and neglect. Am I correct, Kyle? How's that? Because that page is attached. This is an SAU policy.
That is one of your policies
Yes.
passed at the beginning of the year.
So this was not written by the Spartans in high school. This is coming out of, I think, the entire SAU. And that's it for the student handbook changes, other than I met with the appropriate people today. We went over all the calendar, the dates and all that, put them in. And obviously the dates are subject to change. I've got to get that out to get to print. So they'll be ready to pass out when the kids show up in August. Any questions at all on? Thank you.
You'd like a motion to make those changes?
Please accept the handbook change.
You would like to do that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. All right, Bonnie wants to make a motion. Do you want to say it?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the student handbook for 22-23.
And I'll second that.
Second by Barbara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Great. Thank you. All right, our teaching and learning and school operations will be made 17.
So the teaching and learning, there wasn't a quorum, but there was, I don't know if you want to go over the presentation that we had.
a few minutes.
Yeah.
Mr. Parsons gave us some updates on the SAT and PSAT. I don't know if he has all the results now.
No.
We do not yet, okay. I suspect we'll get that at a later date.
Brandon Cleary and Sean O'Brien presented on a potential possible outdoor recreation leadership program here at the school, a new program that they are looking into, which would plan for new CTE certifications with outdoor recreation classes. And that
There's a handout that I gave you there as far as preliminary rates.
yeah, so they gave a nice presentation on what that is about. And then Mr. Parsons was talking about instructional coordinator applicants, but I did not take any notes on that, so I'm not really sure what that is about.
He did choose the instructional coordinators for next year, so he named them. I don't have them off the top of my head. But
I
he did.
I wrote down for math, we have Mike Boyle,
Yeah.
language, Patricia Rella, career tech is Kyle Reed, and science, Ina Haver.
Yeah.
But what, could you, do you know, could you go over again what the instructional coordinator positions are?
Sure. So as far as the new the collective bargaining agreement, that was bargained in as a new position. So they will be teaching one less class and doing more professional development, professional learning communities, and leading that curriculum piece that ties in with the BS accreditation. So that will be new as well, and we're waiting on the schedule to be modified for next year. So it's kind of part of,
The union did that.
yeah.
All right, great, thank you. And that was all I had for that, for presentations for that.
Okay, who did school operations?
Peter.
Does that report? Oh, Peter.
Peter, well, Roger was elected chair, and then Peter's the vice chair. I can just
Okay,
summarize
sounds
it
good.
real quick. Most of it we're going to be discussing during the discussion items, but basically Dan reviewed the end of the year budget numbers. He's going to update you again during the discussion items. We also reviewed a number of summer projects, a bunch of smaller ones, and then the big one was the 3 phases of the bathroom project that we had talked about, shifting from the group bathrooms and the locker rooms and doing that complete renovation. So phase 1 was the main area bathrooms. Right,
Yep.
you may.
I mean, the summer of '22,
Yeah.
we have 8 bathrooms in the main building. 4 on the side by closest to my office and 4 right here. 2 boys, 2 girls. And that's what we're looking for the summer of '22. A total of $1.8 million. All new bathrooms will be single bathrooms with their own entrance. All new bathrooms will contain a sink and a toilet. I have brought the plans for you so you people can see. And each stall will be from ceiling to floor with a lock that will say vacant or occupied.
Just like the ones outside here.
All new bathrooms, there will not be an area for any students to multiply or all congregate as they can now. Because we even though we have signs that say occupancy of 4 or 6, we could have 8 or 9, whatever. These new bathrooms do not allow that. $900,000 I'm looking for use for all equipment and supplies that would be used for just the toilets, and the equipment on there would come from the unreserved fund balance. $1,062,000 would be the HVAC equipment that would be needed, and that would be funded by your ESSER grant that you have there.
So the ESSER grant is all the COVID relief grants. So you have to break it up into a few parts. So the HVAC is covered under it completely, where the bathrooms itself have to be locally funded. And so both were talked about at the meeting, at the operations meeting, and all the projects were moved forward unanimously to the board for today.
Summer of '23 would incorporate the north wing, and we'd have to redo the entire HVAC, as Tyler had said, would be covered by the ESSER grant. It would also allow us to finally air condition and redo the HVAC in the new part, the part that we did in '99 and 2000. Band and chorus, all the art, all the science rooms, they're not air conditioned. We'd be able to redo that whole piece. That would be in the summer, and then redo the 4 bathrooms and the same specs that we're doing in the summertime. And that would be in the summer of '23 at approximate price tag of 1.3. And then the following summer of '24, we would strip the entire locker rooms, both boys and girls, all the rooms down there, and redo all the bathrooms. I have those drawings for you to look at too. Single stalls, single showers, that would all be up to date. And again, the HVAC would cover there, and we'd look at local funds down the road on those. But that's the summer of 2024. What we're talking about mainly right now is the summer of '22, the 8 bathrooms. I think we did some major discussions with that. I did bring the plans for you to see, to explain. And again, so you know, we're talking about the 8 bathrooms that are in the main part of the building.
Before we break, so that's just the committee report. I'd like Dan to just, if we can move to the discussion.
Right, okay,
part,
sounds
to
good.
go over the budget first before we move into the projects.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have Dan just review where you're at so far this year.
Thank you. For the current year, we will play out for the rest of this month and June with no additional spending other than what's already been encumbered and committed. We're looking at a fund balance of approximately $1.65 million unspent funds. I would add into that, given that we still have a couple of revenue pieces that are coming in, but I see revenues adding an additional $100,000 to that. So we would net out at year end without any funds being retained into the fund balance at $1.76 million. Just to review your retained fund balance, you have an ability to retain up to $306,000. Last year, you did retain $260,000. However, during the budget process for fiscal year '23, you committed $211,000 of that to a revenue for next year, meaning that you could retain from any fund balance you have this year, which, as I mentioned a minute ago, I'm currently projecting approximately $1.76 million. You could retain an additional $250,000 of that 1.76, which would free up approximately $1.5 million in fund balance available moving towards the end of this fiscal year.
How much additional was that after the 211?
You could retain an additional $257,280 to be exact.
And what did they do last year?
Last year, they retained a total of $136. However, they committed $211,240 of it to a revenue for next year to reduce the local taxation.
And the total is 1.5?
If you were to retain the maximum amount available, I am currently projecting $1.5 million in unused funds for the current year.
Thank you.
I think it's important to recognize that within that already accounts for certain funds that have been encumbered towards these projects but haven't been spent yet. Specifically, at the end of last year, you committed $350,000 towards the bathroom project,
Right.
of which only $50,000 has been spent so far. So the $300,000 that's remaining on that encumbrance from the end of the prior fiscal year is included in the $1.5 million net that I just discussed.
Yeah.
Bill?
Am I understanding correctly, for the work to be done this summer on the bathrooms, that's 1.8 million?
Yes.
Yeah.
What will that do?
But I just want to clarify, more than $1 million of that is from a grant, not part of the budget process.
Okay, great, thank you. What will we have the opportunity to direct to offset taxes for that next year?
When?
For the next,
Right next.
So any money that's not committed in the form of an encumbrance or a contract or retained up to that $306,000 number, whatever that number is at the end of the year, would become a revenue in addition to $211,000 you've already committed to reduce taxes in the fall.
okay, so that 306 is not, none of that is being used to fund the bathroom renovation?
Correct.
Okay.
That would, if you did vote to retain the maximum amount available, that would stay in your, on your balance sheet, if you will, or that would remain a pocket of money that you would have for urgent expenses or next year or to commit to the following year
Okay.
revenue.
Okay.
Stan?
Dan, it would be helpful for me, and probably everyone else too, if you could clarify, because when we say 1.8 million for bathrooms, it's really a lot less for the actual bathroom piece than that, is it not? I mean, because that's including the total figure for other things than just the actual bathroom, is that correct?
Correct.
I think Mr. Parsons could probably break down the.
Yeah, I think the actual breakdown of the 1.8 million would be helpful for
It's
everyone.
$1,062,000 for the HVAC.
Just for the HVAC.
Just for the
And the
HVAC.
HVAC is subject to reimbursement from.
The ESSA grants.
Okay,
Okay, it wouldn't cost us a dime.
right, okay,
900,000 would come under, that we would be responsible for.
okay,
For the toilets and all the supplies and that piece that goes along with it.
right.
And we do have a timeline to expend it, so just the lead time on the HVAC equipment and with the bathroom renovation from the CIP, that's why we're kind of pushing that now, because we have to purchase that
The
HVAC
supplies,
equipment and
correct.
To get the reimbursement,
get those,
Right,
yes.
right.
Get that in.
right. And they go together. I mean, this project
Yeah.
is
And
the
it is.
HVAC with the bathrooms together.
Right.
Okay.
Much more cost.
It's not just toilets and sinks.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
want to clarify, because I think at the last meeting, we talked about $1.8 million for bathrooms, and that was a pretty high cost per toilet.
Yeah.
So I just think to, for due diligence purposes, we
Right.
need to say that that's for other things than just the actual toilets and sinks.
Correct.
So maybe, it may be best to think of it as the $1.8 million is phase one of the total project.
Yeah,
And that phase one has two components. It has an HVAC component and a bathroom component, which are both more cost effectively accomplished by doing those two pieces of phase one together
yes,
versus splitting them up.
yeah, that makes sense.
Any other questions?
So we are looking for a few approvals tonight, one with the unreserved fund balances for, do you want to go over the small projects first?
Sure. For those people that were here last year, I think last time, the summer projects that I'm looking at that are coming under the unretained fund balances, it's $131,000 to finish off the teacher's parking lot that you see in the back here. That would finish up. We do have, that was approved by the budget this year, we're redoing all the paving that take us all the way down to the baseball field, the tennis courts, that whole area, and that's approximately $159, but that was approved by our budget. I'm asking for an additional $131 to finish off the teacher's parking lot, and that would finish off the entire complex here. Asking for a park and rec, the snow box that I told you was $5,000. That piece of equipment goes on the tractor that we own, and it really allows us to do the sidewalks and all the walking entrances that you see around this complex. I did get a bid around $5,000 for that. We did in the budget that we just passed this year, we got approved for a 150 truck. I told you the two trucks we own, the one is 2006, one is 2009. Both I can't take off properties because they can't pass inspection. In fact, the pickup truck, as of Monday, kind of went by the wayside. So the budget allowed us to buy one of them. I'm asking to pick up a small two-door pickup for approximately $40,000. The other piece that I looked into was our ski jump. You recall it was an issue maybe 7 years ago, and made sure I kept it on my radar. That needs some work. Some of the boards need to be replaced. It is fairly new, but still it gets weather beaten. It has not been painted since we put up in the whole bit. So I'm looking at staying the ski jump for approximately $16,000, and the ski jump repairs itself would be approximately $8,000 with the boards that need to be done. And finally, asking for a gator to add to our sports program. We currently own one that we share with Park and Rec. This would allow us, and it would not be a Cadillac Would not be four-wheel drive of that piece, but it will allow us to get down to the fields, the lagoons, back and forth for our trainer in that piece. And that gator is approximately $12,999.
So 213,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't add it up, but $213,000.
You know, Bruce said $12.99, I said, that sounds like $13,000 a minute.
Well, that's the quote they gave me. I didn't want to push it.
Yeah, right.
Taking notes, Kate?
I am.
Given those smaller projects, in addition to the $900,000 for the bathrooms, where would that leave our unreserved fund balance if we were to do that? And how much are we talking about then being able to give back to the voters?
So, there's a couple of moving parts, I'm not trying to, I just want to make sure I understand clearly. If we start with approximately $1.75 billion, and I'm going to assume for the moment that you're going to vote to retain the maximum amount available. That makes sense, as you've done in the last couple of years. So voting that would bring that 1.75 down to $1.5 million. If you then approve all the items that Bruce just reviewed, that $213,000 plus the $900,000 for the bathroom HVAC combined project, the $900,000 from the general fund, those two numbers total $1.1 million, which would leave $400,000 in unretained fund balance, added to the $211,000 that you've already committed to unretained fund balance out of the prior year's retained, which means that there'd be a revenue line in next year's fall revenue tax setting process of approximately $611,000 total. That make sense? That too, like, make it too brief?
And that revenue of $611,000, is that would then necessarily go back to the voters, right?
Well, so I always caution against using it, going back, it doesn't technically go back, but it's considered, it reduces the amount raised to go back. So you've already committed $211,240 to reduce taxes with the budget which is approved in March for the next fiscal year. It would increase that from $211,000 to $611,000 of monies to reduce the amount to be raised locally through taxation.
Did Plymouth Elementary School come up with a dollar amount last night, or
They have not.
They're not, okay.
We reviewed similar numbers, and they've got, they're in a comfortable position as well, a strong position, but they have not made any decisions. I think they'll make those decisions at their June 6th, is that the date?
Yeah.
June 6th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great year.
Questions? Bernie?
How does that work with our, we're trying not to keep bumps up and down? with-
Yeah.
How do those numbers work?
So, it's a very good question. It's hard for me to sit here without my financial model and tell you how it would affect the tax rate of each of the towns that are members of the Pennsylvania Cooperative District. But essentially, the $211,000 that was already committed as a revenue for next year brought the increase in net assessment as a whole to just under 3%. So this would drop it further, closer to 2% for a growth from the current year.
Yeah, as I recall from the last meeting, the 1.76 million or 1.75 million that we have in excess, that mostly came from special ed and transportation?
Yeah, mostly, as I told you before, when I do put the numbers together, Maureen, and I work on a conservative area, especially with students, I don't know if I can retain or not. So yes, and part of it's transportation, and there's some staffing.
And the health insurance.
Yeah, health insurance is a big. Okay.
You got three, if I may, Bruce.
Go ahead, Dan.
There's three primary areas that I think you can attribute those unspent funds to. As Bruce said, and you correctly asserted, 50% of it is changing in special ed needs. We have another 200,000 that has to do with health insurance savings, basically change the plan to change the cost. And another 200,000 is personnel. You may recall we've had personnel changes over the past year after the budget process, and all positions have been replaced right away. So
Okay,
those are the three main areas.
great, thank you.
And then just for all of us to think about, once you go through these lists, where we are for the future? Pretty solid?
Well, we adjust the CIP plan, but getting the HVAC funds from the ESSER grants is going to put us, that was a huge project that we just, it's tough to save up for. So that's a huge help as far as getting that.
We're in real good shape, even for next year.
Okay, Sam?
So essentially, we're gonna be able to do these renovations for half the cost because we're getting half the cost from the federal government. Is that essentially a good way of looking at it then?
I think it's more than half the cost, to be honest with you.
Yes, it is.
I think the ESSER grants and what I'm calling various pools of COVID money, if you will, are covering more than 50% of your capital improvement projects.
I just gave you
And if we didn't go forward, we'd lose that money. So we have to do the project to, essentially, because it's a package deal.
Yeah, so it's a lose it or spend it proposition, and
Right.
they're very strict about what you can spend it on. You can't just use it to reduce the local burden of taxation. It has to be for projects that are specifically related to
Two pandemics.
the pandemic.
Great question.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
So we're looking for approval of all the summer projects, including the bathroom, HVAC renovation.
Okay. You didn't-
I will make that motion.
Okay, second? I'll second. Christie, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
The other piece is, do you want to take action on what you want to retain now or wait to the June meeting? It's up to you. It's sometimes a little bit easier to do it now, or do you think you're
Well, it's
waiting?
board's pleasure, either way, but
Yeah.
we'll come back in June and review the balances with these actions.
We do
before we
final
take them
balances.
And do a final action on a retained fund balance. In June would be fine with me,
Yeah.
whatever the board prefers.
I prefer to wait so we have more specific numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
I appreciate that because we will getting the projects approved. We'll move on that right away. So with that comes, we've talked to the construction company. In order to get the work done, they do have to come in prior to school getting out. So what that means is we'd like to back up the last date. We typically do this for any construction projects when they come because it's going to be in the main area of the building. So we're looking at an end date of,
June 13th for the students and June 17th for the staff. The staff would be, technically the staff would be,
so the reason we can do this a few years ago at the state level, remember you can convert days into hours. So I'd like to always explain when we're cutting off that many days, you're still well within the range of hours, you're well over 1,000. The minimum is that you do a little over 990.
990.
990, I'm in the right one.
Yep, yeah, 990.
But you're well over that for that piece. So I would like to ask that you move and amend the calendar so the kids can get out on that Monday, the 13th.
Full days, Kyla, then?
So it's different at the high school because they have finals so it just depends on the kid and their schedules and what goes on with that too. But full days for the teachers until the 17th, which is a Friday. And then the last student day would be the 13th. which
That's
is
a Monday.
And the seniors in the third, but again, that week is their finals.
Yes.
Yeah, they
They start the week before the
Fourth.
So I do need
Who would like to make that?
finals.
Bernie. Motion seconded by Phil to restructure the end of the year with dates. June 13th,
Yep.
17th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
I think your student rep appreciates it.
Hopefully he's getting.
And local businesses will appreciate it. I can hear that they're looking for kids pretty early, so
Okay, great.
that's all I have.
Board member concerns?
Can we go
Yes,
back to
Bill.
other business?
Yes.
I'd like to, I'll make a motion if appropriate, that board meetings start no earlier than 5:30, and I'll speak to that, if I may, if there's a second.
I'll second that.
Discussion, sure.
I think I've spoken in the past. My concern is, having been on both sides, but as a superintendent and as a board member now, I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that our meeting times really impact all board members' ability to attend. We're pretty substantive things here. I don't know if the people who aren't here because of timing, I don't know that. But we do know that in the past, by starting too early, board members couldn't get here, and the substantive discussion and action taken. I feel that we are really disenfranchising, particularly the smaller towns that have only one representative if they can't get here all the time. And that, I don't think is appropriate. I mean, they're elected officials, and we should modify our schedule to accommodate the schedules of all board members. I don't know if it's an imposition on anyone, but I just think we ought to conduct our business with all towns represented. So therefore, my motion would be that no board meetings start any earlier than 5:30. My preference would have been 6, but I don't know if everyone would support that. So I would compromise to a 5:30 start date.
Clarification, does that include committee meetings, are you suggesting? Because you said all board meetings.
I was specifically thinking of board meetings because if someone can't make a committee meeting, then there'll be a second chance at it at the full board meeting.
Does the full board meeting?
Full, yeah.
Okay.
Maureen?
Yeah, and I feel like Roger in particular is someone whose work schedule does not allow him to get here for 5 o'clock meetings. And I would agree that every member of this board is a valued member of the board and an elected official, and we really ought to make it accessible to everyone. Yeah, I know it was in the past when Tim Narrow and others couldn't get here on time, their voice wasn't always heard, so.
I'd say I have to agree. I see patients up in Littleton, and I actually have to restructure my afternoon to make sure I see my last patient at 3:30, so I can get here at 5. So 5:30 would be perfect. That would be great.
I think I'm going to struggle with that, Phil. It's going to be hard for me because I have meetings after this. So as the chair, we might have to look at that, reallocate another chair, or Christie, I don't know, we can look at it and see. But as a chair, yeah, I'm going to struggle because I have something right after this on Tuesdays. And Roger has said 5:30 is going to be a struggle. So I can revisit that with him too and see. And then I'm not sure, I've never heard what you're talking about and getting here on time for the one meeting a month. I've never heard that, but I would be interested on who we're thinking of. And you're talking about people listening or people being on the board when you say coming in from various...
Representatives from the respective town being able to participate and assist and make decisions. I know it was an issue for Walter. He told me that himself. I mean, some days he'd be up on the Derby line, and he just couldn't get back in time. He said he didn't want to, didn't feel comfortable coming into a meeting that had already started. I know when I was working in Laconia, it was very difficult to get here to adjust, and I always felt guilty for doing my job fully to get here for 5 o'clock.
Either time works for me, so it's not an issue for me. Perhaps this is a better conversation to have at the board retreat in the summer so that everyone can, because we don't have everyone here right now, right? And so if it's to accommodate people's schedules, I don't know if 5 benefits more of the people or 5:30 does. I mean, obviously there's going to be no perfect time for any of us, right? So I think it's a good issue you raised, Phil, and all boards struggle with it, but I would appreciate that hearing from more people so we can find out how we can accommodate the most people. And it's the type of thing every board, you can change it every year if you want to accommodate people's schedules. But I just, hopefully everyone would be able to make the board retreat and we could discuss this and set it up coming out of the summer.
Yes.
I'm not sure everyone will be at the board retreat, so I'm not sure we have that many more people.
We're missing 3.
Yeah, but the motion, you made the motion tonight, and people that aren't here don't even know about this motion right now, is what I'm saying. So I assume, unless.
Well, I've talked about it in the past,
Okay,
at a full board meeting.
okay.
So
Yeah, I haven't heard this issue before. Perhaps I missed that meeting or I wasn't paying attention like I should, but we have 1, 2, 3, 10 people, there's 13, so 3 people don't get an input in it tonight. So at least, at a bare minimum, I'd suggest we continue this issue for the next board meeting, so at least everyone knows about it.
And I wonder if a night change too would make a difference to see if people thought about a different day, just.
I would just caution that because I attend several other school board meetings, so sometimes they just go consecutively. So we have 9 school boards, so it's a little tricky with
You can
nights.
with just me. That's scary.
But certainly.
Yes, Bill.
I would just hate to see it fall by the wayside. I mean, it's been an issue, it's not new.
Yeah.
And I respect what you're saying, but I don't know if a lot of have perfect attendance.
Well, you made the motion. If someone wants to second it, we can vote on it. I just made the suggestion that perhaps it'd be better to get everyone to vote. But if people want to vote on it tonight, we'll vote on it tonight and see where it goes.
I think it was seconded.
I believe I seconded
Yes,
it for the discussion.
For the discussion, yeah.
Yes,
And input. I'm in favor of discussing it at the next meeting. And let's get the information out to those who aren't here that this is going to be a topic for discussion. Because maybe if they're not here, they could send a note in or something. But as many of us as possible should contribute to the discussion. So it's on the floor now, but we can discuss it the next month.
so are we talking about rescinding it right now and just having
Okay,
it on?
I will rescind the motion,
But we will talk.
but it will be
Sure, we put
discussed.
it on the agenda for
Put it on the agenda,
it's
yeah.
not on committee, but I'll put it on the agenda for our retreat or the June
No,
I
meeting.
think next board
I
meeting.
think next
June
board
meeting,
meeting.
next board meeting.
When is the retreat?
We have to decide that at the next.
That's fine. That
That's in
accomplishes
June.
Next June, in June, the meeting accomplishes the goal.
So we'll do all of that in June. We'll do the retreat date, the time, and then, so everybody's here to discuss everyone's availability. Good?
So my motion will be to second his motion for discussion next month.
Oh, you
I don't
rescinded
think we
it.
need a
I
motion.
rescinded.
Took it off the
Yeah,
floor.
rescind, yeah. And we'll get some options maybe.
As chair, do you think you could contact the 3 people
Yes.
who are here,
Yes.
just make them aware
In
of,
case they're not in the next one, you can at least talk about.
yeah, just make them aware of the issue?
Right. And again, just for clarification, the one full board meeting, but the committee reports, which are technically 4:30 and 5, I know we
I
went
thought they were 5 and 5:30.
We did change them to 5
5
and
and
5:30, but you're good with the 5 to 5:30, 4:30 to 5 is a better
Especially
compromise.
with respect for Roger.
And I still don't think he can make it, so that's.
Well, he had indicated to me that he thought he might be able to adjust his schedule those 2 days a month to get here. That was at the time when we
Okay.
So
spoke.
we can talk to him.
All right, sounds good.
So it's Paul Pisano, Peter, and Roger that are not here.
I have one more
Yes.
order of business, if that's okay. Just when we voted to take away one of the privilege floor opportunities from the agenda, I felt uncomfortable with that, and I wanted to just revisit that. I know we had talked about bringing that back to committee at some point, and I know we moved it to the front of the agenda. I don't like the idea of taking away opportunities for people to talk if they don't make a meeting right at the beginning and then their opportunity's gone.
So we're bringing I'll have a sample policy for you to discuss if you want to entertain a policy or just come up with rules at the next committee meeting. So that's already going to be on the agenda as part of that.
Great, sounds good, thank you. All right, any other business? board member concerns? Any board member concerns as to what? A motion to go into non-public for personnel, made
Yep.
by, who wants to make that, Barbara, personnel, second by, all those, no, roll call, Maureen?
Yes.